We are back. I'm so sorry. I really am. I honestly didn't think that anybody would even notice or care that I didn't post, but I've been getting so many comments and messages asking if it's like done. And like, of course it's not done. I've just been busy. Like, this requires a whole hour, and that might not seem like a lot, but when you have kids, well, the thing is, like, Jay is at the point where I could put him in a room for an hour and be like, just chill, I need to go do something. But Rose is not there yet, and like, theoretically maybe I could make it work, like squeeze in something, but I would be rushing and I'd probably be interrupted a million times. So it's so difficult. And like, yes, she does nap most days, but I also have other stuff I have to do. Like, I have to clean my house, So it's like, I got to get my priorities straight here. So I need to like hire a cleaner and maybe use my time more wisely, and maybe use my resources more, because I do have a village, quote unquote. It's not a ginormous one, but I have, willing to help grandparents. So I should use them more often, but I just don't like to take advantage of them, And I feel like a part of the reason why they're so helpful is because they don't have to help all the time, Like, I use them when they're free and, they want to help. They always ask me if Jay and Rose can sleep over their house. I don't really ask them for help, honestly. I just feel like, I don't know why. I did when I really needed to. Like, when Rose was born, I would just show up at their house and be like, guys, I'm so tired. Can I take a nap in your guest room? And they would always help. So maybe I need to do that now. I need help, just in a different way. Sometimes I just feel like the thing about social media is like, you can take it as seriously as you want, like, there are people with 1 million followers and their life doesn't really change that much. And there's people with 500,000 followers and their real life is affected by it every day. Like, they're going to events and they have a brand and they have a workshop. So it's like, it's really up to the person to decide how much they want it to be a part of their real life. Because at the end of the day, it's literally just numbers on my phone is what it is. And to make it your real life is a little intimidating. And it's really just me having a 2-year-old is honestly what's holding me back from like going all in, because she still needs her mommy and I don't want to take any more time away from her, But then I know she'll be okay. Like, I see working moms go to work 8 hours a day and their kids are fine and they still are close. I know it, but knowing and believing are two different things. I always, that blows my mind. I think about that all the time. Like, you can know something and not believe it. Like, we know that we're slowly rotating right now around the sun, but do we really truly believe it? I feel like if we really truly believed it, then we'd all be tripping out, freaking out all the time, and we would all be like just living like nothing matters if we like really thought about and believed what's going on here. Like watching a movie, like, they're acting, but in the moment you let yourself believe that it's true. So knowing and believing are not the same thing. Okay, that just got like so deep so quick. But yeah, it's funny. While we're on the topic, I got an invite to like an event, like as an influencer. And this has happened before. I have gotten a few invites. I don't get that many, honestly, because I don't know why. I think it's because I live in the middle of absolutely freaking nowhere, which, definitely holds me back. But I got a few invites like last year and the year before, but Rose was so young and like I just felt like I couldn't leave her because it was like an overnight thing. But now I leave her like all the time overnight and I would totally do it. But now, of course, I don't get any invites. But I got one the other day and I was so humbled because I read like the first part of the message. I'm like, oh my God, like I could totally go. They said like, hi, we're having an event on this day. And then I opened the message and they said, you just have to pay $50. And I'm like, what? Like, I thought when you invite someone to something, you don't tell them they have to pay for it, right? That just didn't make any sense. I'm like, okay, I don't think I'm getting invited to this like I thought I was. And I was like instantly humbled. I'm like, damn, whatever. I asked you guys what I should talk about. And you guys have a lot of good things to talk about. But before I get into what you want to talk about, I just want to catch you up on my life in case you care. I don't know if people care. I really don't. I know that to other people it might seem obvious, but like it takes a lot of I don't know what the right word is, like vanity. Like you have to be kind of vain to sit here and inform people about your life. And I feel like no one cares, but I have to convince myself people care. So anyways, what's been going on? What day? It's April. Yeah. So I haven't posted since I think like February. So during that time, let's see, Rose turned 2. So that was fun. We had a little birthday party for her at a little farm. It was actually perfect for her. Although, you know, the thing about birthday parties when you have kids, especially the age of the birthday person really matters, because that first birthday party is all about the adults, and it doesn't really matter. You can just have it at your house. You know, it's really just celebrating the first year of life. You know, you're 1 year postpartum. The baby doesn't give a fuck what's going on. You can do anything, right? Give the baby a balloon and they're happy. The second birthday is a little tricky, you know, because they're like half baby, half kid. And sometimes you don't know which one they're going to be that day. Especially Rose. Like, she's so in between right now that I mean, really, you just have to remember the focus is the kid. You know, if the guests aren't having fun, I don't give a fuck. As long as the birthday person's having fun and all the kids are having fun, I don't care about the adults. And, you know, when it comes to we had it at a place. It was at a farm. And, you know, we didn't bring alcohol. Like, you know, you can't just show up to someone's house at a farm and bring alcohol. So we didn't do that. But when we have birthday parties at our house, you know, people can bring alcohol. Sometimes we'll have like a few drinks in the fridge, but we're not going to like provide everyone like, you know, shots. But actually at Jay's first birthday party, I think I had like a baby bottle drinking contest of like beer or something. But that was like really fun. And looking back to Jay's first birthday, I had so many people there, guys. Like, I'm talking more than half of the people that were there I haven't seen since that day. It's crazy. The first birthday party is like false hope. It gives you false hope of what, you know, this kid's life's going to be like, what your life's going to be like as a parent. You think all these people are going to be a part of, you know, your life and your kid's life, and it's like, holy shit, not even close. And maybe it was the age. You know, I was only 21, but damn, I think back to that party and they're mostly they're strangers now. But anyway, yeah, so we didn't bring alcohol, and it's just so interesting because when you have a party with no alcohol, and really it's like only like a kid's party, because what other party that has no alcohol? The guests of the party, like the vibes are heavily relying on just the adults, right? Like there's no common denominator where everyone's drinking and, you know, you can just rely on the drinks to bring the vibes. The people are bringing the vibes, specifically the adults. Like the kids, they're all just going to be kids, and they kind of go off and play on their own. So what are you left with? You're left with a bunch of people that don't necessarily want to be there. They're there for their kids, or they're there to like support the mom, you know. But it's just weird when it's like, it's a very unique scenario where you really just see people for like your true relationship with these people. You know, there's no alcohol. We're all just in a room. And I honestly, I really love my guests at my party, but sometimes I go to other kids' parties and I'm like, oh my God, like these adults are just so socially awkward, or like they're rude, you know, or they like have social anxiety, and now this is awkward because all the kids are playing and all these parents are just sitting here like, It's just, being a mom is just, it's just weird that how you end up in places like that. It can be so awkward. Like navigating kids' birthday parties is a new challenge. It's not a challenge. It's just, it's been a journey. It's been an experience. I'll say that. But yeah, it can get weird real quick, especially when it's at a place, like I said. Because when you're around adults with no alcohol, I don't know why it's so awkward. It's sad how much alcohol really matters to bring the vibes. But thankfully, like everyone in Jane Rose's life, like I always emphasize this, I only allow quality people in their life. That's just a no, that's like no bargaining. What am I trying to say? There's no negotiation. If you're not quality, you're fucking out. And that's how I've created I didn't create them, okay? They're quality on their own, but that's how I've kept them fresh, good quality kids, because they're not being spoiled. I didn't think about that when Jay was born, okay? I wanted him to I was thinking about quality over quantity. Like I just kept everyone in his life. I'm like, oh, if you want to be in his life, like why not? Like the more the merrier, like this is great. But that ended quickly because I had a rude awakening by how fucking terrible some people are. Sorry, I know I catch people off guard when I swear like that, but I'm very passionate sometimes when I speak, and I just get angry. Like, I'm pissed off when I think about all these people that should have been quality people for Jay and Rose, because Jay and Rose are so, they did nothing wrong, but they just didn't. People just didn't show up how I really wished and hoped they would. Like, there's a lot of people. Sad. But yeah, anyways, Rose turned 2, and like I said, she's just like half big, half little kid, half baby. So like this 4-year age gap is like taking an interesting turn recently, ever since she turned 2, because she half can play with Jay. Like, she's full on like engaging in play now. Like, they'll play pretend, they'll play, basketball, they'll play on the nugget, they'll go on the swing sets. But also half the time she just wants to be a baby in her mommy's lap. And she cries when, she falls on the floor. Like, and Jay, it's confusing for Jay because he's like, he never knows which one he's going to get from her. Like, is she going to wake up and just like want to sit with mommy, or is she going to want to wake up and just play with Jay and want nothing to do with me? So and sometimes I treat her like a little kid. Like Jay, I'm like, all right, you guys want to go to the playground? I'm talking to them like a person. But then sometimes I talk to her like she's a baby, because she still is. She just turned 2. It would be so unfair to treat her the same way I treat Jay. Like, I have to expect way more from Jay. So like, I don't blame her when, she doesn't. I don't hold her to the same standards as Jay, and it's confusing because sometimes I do treat them the same because they're acting the same. So yeah, that's like our current struggle / honestly, it's majority of the time it's a good thing because they're playing together and they're vibing and they're having conversations, and it's like, oh, finally, it took 2 years. It's crazy. It takes 2 years for them to like really start to talk and like have conversations. And it's crazy how up until this point, Jay just pretty much had like a little blob of a little sibling, just, walking around like goo goo gaga. So, props to Jay for dealing with that, because I feel like it is difficult when you are the only child for 4 years, and then all of a sudden you have this blob for 2 years, and then finally they start playing with you, Actually, for the first time ever, it was a problem because we went to my mom's house and we had all the cousins. So Jay and Rose have 3 cousins. And one of them's younger than Rose. She's 18 months. One of them's 3, and one of them's 5. And then Jay's 6. So Jay's the oldest. And for the first time ever, Rose, she just turned 2. She wanted to play with Jay and his 2, like all the 3 older cousins, because she's kind of, on their level now. She can talk to them. She can play with them. And for the first time ever, her cousins actually wanted to play with her too. Like, they didn't treat her like a baby. And they were treating her as an equal. And Jay saw this, and he actually was really hurt because his best friend is his cousin, my nephew, and my nephew wanted to play with Rose. And Jay was just crushed because like that's his bestie, and he's like, what? Like, she's barely a person, guys. Like, come on. But then I'm like, Jay, I had to remind him, like, she's not a baby, and she's totally allowed to play with all of you guys. And I know it's hard because that's your best friend, but we need to find a way to make this work all together. And eventually, by the end of the night, they were all playing together. But Jay started crying. And, like, if you know Jay, like I do, which almost no one does, but he will not cry around people. Like, he has a lot of, I don't know if I would say shame, but, like, he really holds himself to a high standard. Not that I tell him he can't cry. Like, this has nothing to do with me. It's just something that it's his personality. He does not like to cry in front of people, but he actually cried in front of everyone about this situation. And I was like, wow, he must be really hurt. So, yeah, but at the same time, it's a good thing. Because, obviously it's a good thing. She's growing up and she can play with them. Like, come on, Jay, we need to, like, stop crying about this. What else? I wrote some, oh, yes. Jay started baseball, which is great. Sean is the coach again. He coached him playing t-ball last year, and this year's baseball, and it's like real. Like, we're going to freaking different towns and shit. It's like concession stands, like we're all in. And it happened really quick because like literally last year they were playing on a tee, just like playing with dirt, and now like we're playing other towns and shit. So that's another situation with parents you have to navigate. And like, I don't know. I mean, I talked to like Sean's parents, and they're like, yeah, like I remember like when my kids were in sports, like all the parents would talk, and like, it would like be like a whole group thing. And they can tell that like, I remember like last year at T-ball, they can tell like, parents aren't like friendly like they used to be. Like, I don't know the names of all the other parents, it's like not like a community or whatever the fuck you call it out there. It's hard. I don't know why. I think it's because of phones, because people are just on their phones, And I feel like I'm also guilty of it. Like, I'm not really doing anything different than they are. Like, I'm not like super friendly, and like, I don't know how to navigate this parenting world. And it's not like I really think much of it. Like, I kind of just, I know people already, so I talk to them, but it's hard to make new friends as a parent. I actually find that very difficult lately. Like, finding brand new people to be friends with. I don't even think this is a parenting thing. Like, as an adult, for some reason, it's difficult to get close to people. Like, I enjoy hanging out with people. Like, I've made new friends, but it feels like I hit a wall sometimes. Like, no, actually, almost every time I hit a wall, and I can only get so close to people. And it makes me wonder, like, how do people make a best friend as an adult? Or especially when you're a parent. It seems impossible. Like, you can only get to be like, at least for me, I feel like I can only get to be friends. It's never close friends, best friends. It's not like I'm looking for like a best friend, but I don't know why it hasn't happened yet. I'm 27. I have yet to meet a friend as an adult that I consider a close friend. Like, all of my close friends are from childhood or high school. So yeah, that's something I actually never thought about until right now, like, as I'm saying it. Yeah, so Sean's coaching, right? And it's just so funny because Sean, like, he's I feel like there's a disconnect between TikTok and like Sean in real life, because he's extremely, like, he's a character, and he's his own person. He doesn't try to like fit into, he's honestly kind of like me. He doesn't try to like fit into a box. He's just him. And when he's just like, he's the perfect coach, honestly, because he's just so good with kids. He's so goofy. He's not afraid to like be funny or ridiculous. And he's been doing really good. And the other day, Jay said to me, well, Rose got hurt, and then Jay said, pain is weakness leaving the body. And I'm like, Jay, where did you hear that? He's like, Dad had told everyone at practice that's what happens when you get hurt. I'm like, Sean, this is what you're teaching these kids at baseball? Like, the parents probably think you're a psychopath. He's like, it's true. I'm like, oh my God, Sean. And like, because he's a coach, I don't have to be a concession stand worker. So thank you, Sean. And another thing about Sean, so he has been off all winter. Like, he doesn't work during the winter, and it's even like fall time. Like, halfway through fall, I think it was October, he stopped working because he gets laid off in the wintertime. Like, that's just what he does. And I was trying to think, I'm like, what did we do before I made my own money? I think he just saved up a bunch of money. If I remember correctly, he just saved up, and we didn't have an income during the wintertime. But that was also when we had like half the size of a house. So like, we didn't have this mortgage yet. It was like half the amount of this mortgage. And like, all of our expenses were just a lot cheaper. But at the same time, he also didn't make as much money. So I really don't know how we did that, honestly. But yeah, now that I have income from TikTok, he can kind of ask to get laid off a little earlier, and he doesn't have to go back like right away, right when work comes. He can kind of like wait until they need him. So he only works as much as he has to now because of TikTok. If I didn't have TikTok, he would be working right now. So he can just kind of extend his yearly layoff, is really what I'm trying to say. But he's gonna go back soon, and he hasn't been since October. So it's like gonna be so weird for me not having him, because, well, first of all, Jay is like, they're best friends. Like, Jay hangs out with his dad like every day. Like, Jay lives the life every little boy could dream of, because he just hangs out with his dad all day, and like, they go to breakfast, and Sean just got him a 4-wheeler, and like, they play basketball, and he plays catch with him. Like, it's just literally perfect, like, for Jay. Like, he lives such a unique life. And I'm sure like, the people at his school are like, what do these parents do? Like, it's literally like me and Sean rotate dropping him off. Like, it just seems like we're always available, and they're probably confused. Although I do know one person at his school knows like about TikTok, but Jay's teacher is like 70. I don't think he knows about it. And I'm always wondering, like, do they just think like what do they think we do for work? They could be kind of like, I feel like they think it's kind of sketchy. This is like not that crazy, but I did start working out. Okay, I started working out because I told you guys before that I've been experiencing symptoms of PMDD. I don't know what that stands for. Let's look it up. premenstrual dysphoric disorder. Now, I'm not diagnosing myself. I hate when people just come on here and diagnose themselves. I've experienced the symptoms that come along with this. I don't know if I have it, but like basically the week before my period, I just like literally have this intense feeling of being hopeless. And it's a feeling that I've literally never felt my whole life, not even like postpartum, but I started feeling it like in the past like 6 months. It's gotten so bad. Like I can just feel like mentally when I'm gonna get my period, because it gets so bad. I wake up in a fog, and like I have never had any sort of mental like diagnosis. Like I've never taken any pills for anything, like nothing. Never had depression. I've never taken any pills for any sort of mental disorder. So in a way, like I've always like wondered what people meant. Like I've always been curious, and maybe even kind of downplayed mental illness in the past because I didn't understand it. Well, that was before I had Jay, and I definitely experienced anxiety, although I never got treated for it. But before, like, you know, before you experience something, it's hard to know if it's really real. So I kind of downplayed mental illness for a while before I became a mom. And this is one of those times where I'm reminded, like, damn, like mental illness is real, because I couldn't control this at all. It came out of absolutely nowhere. And like, it was like literally a year and a half into having Rose. Like, I don't think it had anything to do with postpartum. I don't know why I was feeling this way, but I did start working out, like getting my heart rate up at least 30 minutes a day, like going pretty hard. I know it's not that much, but it's totally helped. This last month, I didn't even know I was getting my period. That's how good it was. Like I just got it and I'm like, oh my God, I didn't feel the feeling. So maybe it's like a, you know, placebo, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Like maybe working out didn't actually fix me, but I thought it was gonna, so it did. But either way, I gotta stay on that, because damn. And I feel like I just look better. Duh. That's not groundbreaking information. Well, let's talk about whatever you guys told me to talk about. First one that sticks out is how to train up strong-willed babies who are constantly crying or upset. Basically, I think they're asking how to prevent that or stop that. That's actually something I'm very passionate about, because, you know, when you, especially like childless people, probably see parents and their kids are constantly crying, and it just seems like ridiculous that the parents can't even do anything for themselves without this kid like crashing out, you know? And that's something I really did not want to happen to me as a parent. And I mean, if you ask people in my life, I'm sure they would probably say, yeah, like Jay and Rose don't do that. Like if I'm talking to someone, they're not just gonna like be screaming, you know? And I think the best way to prevent that from happening, right, is to give them when they're little, like the first 2 years I'm talking about are so important, and it will affect their behavior for the rest of their life, the way you treat them in the first 2 years. I don't think that's just my theory. That's like probably a true thing. But give them the security they are searching for. That's what they're searching for in the first 2 years. They want your security. And it can be hard. I know, so, like sometimes I can feel like maybe people think I'm saying things that are unrealistic. Like obviously people have to go to work. I understand that, but I can only speak from my perspective. And I know there's a lot of people that don't have to, like they could be a stay-at-home mom, or whenever you are at home, give them the security they're looking for. Like they can tell if they can tell when you are trying to get other things done and they're not the priority. They can tell when they feel like they're in the way of you trying to do something. The first 2 years should literally just be all about your kids. If you want an easier life as a parent, that is what you should do. That is what I do, and it has benefited me each time. And I know it's very difficult to know if Jay and Rose are the way they are because they're born that way or because of me. And, you know, sometimes I'm hesitant to speak about like parenting because maybe it really has nothing to do with me. There's no way to tell. And, you know, it pisses me off. Like when it's kind of like we all know those girls we went to high school with, right? And they have like naturally just like a really big butt and like, you know, like their skinny arms, skinny stomach. And then all of a sudden they start a workout page right? And they're freaking gym trainers, and they're just pretending like they worked for that body when they just naturally have always looked like that. And they're like pretending they worked for it, you know? That's kind of what it feels like sometimes when I'm giving parenting advice, because there's no way for me to know. But now that I have Rose and she's very similar to Jay, I am more confident in it. It has to have something to do with me. Of course, their nature, it's probably a lot of who they are is probably in their nature, right? But I do know that there is like literal science to some of the things I say, and that is one of them. Giving them security they need. It seems like it can feel like the opposite. Like, oh, I feel like I don't want to make them attached to me or dependent on me. I don't want to sit here and give them all my time and, you know, pick them up every time they want to. But it actually does the opposite effect. It gives them security. Like Rose is 2. I feel like I've said that a million fucking times. But she's 2, right? And she is so independent right now. Like, she's becoming like she's so secure with like our relationship that she is starting to be independent. She knows I'm always going to be there. I've spent 2 years showing her that she can be secure with our relationship. And now, like, it's kind of like I put in the work, and now the work is really paying off, because she wants relationships with other people. Like, she's really interested in like her aunts and her uncles and my friends and her grandparents. Like, all of these relationships in her life are flourishing, when you would have never seen that like a year ago. You would have never predicted that, because she was so attached to me. Like, literally, people don't understand how bad it was, because I've never shown it, because I'm not going to show her crying on the internet, but it was bad. Like, I couldn't even go to the bathroom for 1 second without her acting like the entire world was ending. It was so bad, and it caused my, you know, mindset to be kind of I was discouraged. I'm like, I can't live like this, you know? I mean, I don't know what to do, but I trusted my gut, because I want to practice what I preach. I've always preached that. Give them the security they need. And so that's exactly what I did. Every time she wanted me to pick her up, I did. And it's totally paid off, okay? Because if I kept pushing her away, she would have felt that resistance, and she still would be able to. And there's some days where she's extra clingy, and I give her the security she needs. You know, you got to just fucking tattoo it on your head. Give them the security they need, and it will come back to repay you. And you won't have constantly crying kids, because they're going to be secure. And another thing that helps is, now this is something I do feel that had nothing to do with me, and that is Jay and Rose were born with shame. Like, they're very like, they're not going to throw a fit in public because they would be embarrassed. Like, even when Rose was 1, she would have never like thrown herself on the floor and cried in front of a bunch of people, because she would have been too ashamed, you know? She definitely like will show emotion, but not throw a tantrum, because I don't know, they're so socially aware, and that's something I do feel like both of them were born with. I don't know why. Like, even strangers would have noticed that when they were like babies. Like, it really feels like they're consciously there. Like, they're not just like in their own baby world. Like, they were listening, they were making eye contact, they were acting kind of like an adult when they were babies. I don't know, they were just born. It's kind of like the old soul effect, I guess. That's what people say. So, shame can really work in your favor as a parent, but you don't want too much shame, because you want them to be a kid, you know, run around and dance and, you know, ask questions and talk to new people. And sometimes too much shame can prevent that. And I will say that there was a point where Jay had too much shame. Like, he wouldn't just be a kid. He wouldn't let loose. And I did not like that, because I was like that as a kid, but not in a good way, in a way where I felt like I didn't matter at all. And I know Jay never felt like he didn't matter, but he just didn't want to act silly. You know, he was just acting too mature. But that's just who he was. Like, he was born that way. No, nothing happened to him. In my case, I was just kind of a troubled child. So I felt such low self-worth that I would not act like a child, like, a lot. Like, I would observe people like acting like kids, and I remember thinking, I wish I could act that way, but I can't. I kept it all in. And like, that's the thing, when people say, you know, sometimes a quiet kid is not a good sign. Like, we think, oh, they're so good, they're so quiet, But it's actually sometimes the opposite. Like it's actually concerning if they're a little too quiet and a little too well behaved. And that was in my case. Everyone, like when I was a little kid, when I turned 12, I started literally raising hell. But before that, I was like such a quiet, well behaved kid. And it wasn't for the right reasons. It was because I felt so worthless. I don't know. I really can't pinpoint why I felt this way, but I did, and nobody picked up on it. And I couldn't just let loose and be a kid. But I remember my stepmom signed me up for dance lessons, and like that was crazy because I've always wanted to do that, but my mom never signed me up. And that's not me bashing my mom, by the way. She just never did. And she didn't have time or money, I don't think. So she signed me up. So every other weekend I would go to my dad's house and we would go to this dance class. And there was a segment in this dance class where we would do freeze dance. I think it was like, was it freeze dance? Yeah. So like it was just kind of like, free dance. Like you could just dance however you want. It wasn't guided by anything. I was probably like 8 years old, maybe 9. And every time the freeze dance segment would happen, I would go to the bathroom because I could not let loose. Like I could follow directions and I could, try to dance. But when it comes to like letting loose and like jumping around, acting silly, I could not do that. I didn't know how to do that. So I would hide in the bathroom. And at one point my stepmom was like, "Are you okay? Like, do you have a stomach ache?" And I just was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." But I did it every time, and I didn't ask to go back to the dance class. I didn't want her to sign me up again because I couldn't do it. It comes from such low self-confidence. Like, that's how bad it was. And I've opened up about this. Like, that wasn't a fucking sentence. I've opened up about this before, like on my TikTok. I made a whole video about like why being a mom has made my life easier and better. And I said all of this, not all that, but I said I felt very worthless before I became a parent. And people were like, "Yeah, but it's not going to make your life easier. Like, it's because you have a good partner and you have ideal circumstances, and that's why it's easier." And it's like it feels like no one hears me when I talk sometimes. Like nobody really heard me what I said. It's not like, oh, low self-confidence. Like I thought it was fat or ugly. It's nothing to do with the way I looked. It had everything to do with how I felt. I felt like I didn't even deserve a spot on this earth. I felt like I shouldn't be breathing air. Like I felt so worthless. And I don't know why. Like I can't express that enough. I really don't know why. So that is why being a parent has made my life easier, like genuinely. And I totally can recognize that this is a very rare situation. Like for the most part, it's going to make people's lives probably harder. But I am a unique individual with a very unique circumstance and a unique life. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that though, but it's still unique. It's hard to explain how bad and how low my self-worth was. But the reason why Jay and Rose make me feel like I'm not worthless is because they're worth everything, and I, created them and they love me, and I'm like, so them loving me so much and them knowing who I really, really am and still loving me, that made me feel something I've never felt before. So that is why being a parent has made my life just easier, because the whole point of why my life was hard before is because I felt like I didn't deserve to be here on this earth, and now I do. That sounds so dark, like it really does, but it's the truth. It really is. It's the unfortunate truth. And like I said, it has nothing to do with how I look. Like every time I say that, people are like, "Oh, like, yeah, me too. Like I thought I was fat." I'm like, no. You're missing the point. Like true low self-worth is something that like very few people understand. It really has nothing to do with how you look. Like when you feel like you're worthless, you will treat yourself accordingly. Like I did not treat myself with any grace or confidence or respect. I had no self-respect. That's the word I'm trying to say. And then I turned 12 and I crashed out every day of my life. Like not even kidding. All right, moving on. Let's get some lighter topics. I feel like it always gets so dark, you know what I mean? How did I learn about neutral/gender Sorry, let me repeat that. How did I learn about neutral/gentle parenting? Okay, so neutral parenting is something I just came up with. I posted about it on my TikTok and my Instagram, and it's something that it's not just a parenting style, it's a way of thinking. It's a way of being able to observe without judging is really where it came from, because I am kind of obsessed with doing that. And I've recently learned that not everybody does this. And so when I come on like TikTok and I'll make an observation, a lot of times people will mistake it for a judgment, and they'll, assume a lot of other things off of like what I said as just an observation. You know what I mean? So in other words, neutral parenting is just a mindset. It's just being neutral and indifferent about the world around you. So you're open-minded, because there's a lot of benefits to living that way. And it comes from really the whole philosophy is I just feel like Jay and Rose are so amazing on their own. I think every kid is. And there's nothing that we adults have to do. We just need to let them flourish. And the best way to let them flourish is to not push our own agendas and not to change them, Make a neutral environment for their thoughts and their opinions and their hobbies, and just support whatever they want to do. Like, that's why I literally let Jay wear a cloak for like a whole year, because that's what he wanted to do. And I'm not going to push my own agenda. And, there's times where I want to, like, thankfully I haven't had to do this, but I cannot stand superheroes, guys. Like, I was so afraid of having a boy because I can't even pretend to like that shit. I thank God every day that Jay never gave a fuck about Spider-Man and shit, because that's where I would draw the line. No, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't. I would have supported it no matter what, of course. Like, he cares about like truck. He had a whole like tractor excavator phase. I wasn't like obsessed with that, but because he was obsessed with it, I totally went with it. But yeah, just providing a neutral space for someone's thoughts can be a very loving thing to do. It's a mature thing to do, and it's just a way to show someone you love them, because a lot of times that's all we need. Adults need that. I need that. But unfortunately, adults have to pay for that. That's called therapy. And even then, sometimes I'm assuming they push their own agenda. I've never been, but I'm just assuming. It's hard to be, completely unbiased. Do you think your experience working with kids helped you raise your own kids? And then someone else asked about like when I worked with kids. So yeah, I worked at a daycare from the ages of like 18 to 20. And it definitely helped, yes, only because it gave me a broader perspective of children. I don't necessarily use any of like the tools like that they taught me, because they didn't really train me. They just kind of threw me in there and were like, "Okay, figure it out. Like, we need another, person in there. So just follow along." They didn't like do any training. But I did take some classes online, like college classes, to get like certified and stuff. So I did learn a little bit, but I kind of forget everything I learned. But like I said, it just gave me a perspective, because that's something that I really lack, is perspective, because I've been in the same relationship for 15 years. 15 years. No, sorry. I meant since I was 15. It's almost been 15 years. It's like been 12 or 11 or 12. And I lived in the same place my whole life. I've had the same friends. I didn't go to college. I got pregnant when I was 20. So it's like I lack such perspective, and it bothers me because, like for example, like if I had a job where I interacted with people every day, I would have more of a perspective about the society around me, like people in general. Like, people generally more shy or talkative? Like, I really don't know, because I'm a stay-at-home mom. That's another thing. And I've been a stay-at-home mom for 6 years. So I only ever know like my life. And the best part about like TikTok is it broadens my perspective a lot. Like, I get to like see inside of, literally inside of people's houses and inside their everyday. And it's broadened my perspective a little bit. But still, I feel like I'm lacking. Like, sometimes I wish I like had a job where, I talk to parents. Like, I love helping moms and parents in general. But sometimes it can be difficult to know what to talk about because I don't even know what parents like struggle with. They're like, what do I do different from other parents? I really don't know. I wish I could help more, but I don't even know where to start. And sometimes I'll say things that maybe I think is so obvious. Like for example, I posted a video about how to control your toddler without them knowing or something like that. It got like 3 million views. And that was something I just kind of put out there. I didn't think anyone like would really care about it. I thought it was obvious, but people thought it was like such a good idea. And I'm like, because I lack such perspective, I really didn't know that anyone thought that was groundbreaking. I thought that was something probably everyone's going to be like, I already do this, But then sometimes I'll think, oh, this is a good idea. I'll share this. And then people are like, isn't this common sense, So yes, occasionally I do think back to the daycare days, but it's really just to remind myself that it's never as big of a deal as I think it is. Like I was in the 2-year-old toddler class and we had literally like 23, 24 kids, and the parents would always come in with like all these like concerns. Like I remember being, as the daycare provider, I just remember like reassuring them that it was going to be okay. Like, yeah, we'll potty train them. Yeah. Like it's no big deal. And I'm like, if this 18-year-old Julie can potty train a 2-year-old, then it's really not that serious. And their parents' concerns were always so serious to the parents, but to us daycare workers, it was just like, okay, yeah, like they'll be fine. Like they're fine. By the time they all left the 2-year-old classroom and into the 3-year-old classroom, all of the behavior problems were gone. Like they were just being 2-year-olds, I know that it can seem like the end of the world when you're the parent, but when you see like 22-year-olds all together, like it's not that, like that one kid doing that one thing is really not a big deal, So it's made me not take things so seriously. And it just made me not worry, like don't worry, like they're going to grow out of it. 99.999% of the time they grow out of the ginormous problem that you're freaking out about, Okay, what else do we got here? Someone asked me to talk about why I don't believe in the future. Okay, let's talk about that because this is not up for debate, okay? There's nothing that you can do to prove the future exists. And this should literally cure anybody with anxiety because the future does not exist. Nobody in this whole wide world can prove that tomorrow exists. What would you do? What would a person do besides say, well, obviously it's going to happen? The only thing that exists is right now. And when the future happens, it's no longer the future, it's the present. So the present is the only thing that exists. I cannot stress that enough. That has made me like, that's just the way I've always thought. And it took me a while to realize not everybody thinks like that. And I don't have anxiety. I do not have anxiety because like I literally just don't think about the future because it's not real. And if you dive deeper into that, if you believe the future exists, like whatever is going to happen in a month is already set in stone, like there's like a timeline, and maybe you believe like that time is not linear and that maybe humans experience time from, past, present, future, but maybe you believe that time exists and we just experience it in one order, but maybe it just exists all around and you can access it in other, dimensions, whatever. If you believe the future exists, right, then that means you believe that we don't have free will. Because if the future is set in stone, then everything that we do is set in stone. Everything that we are going to do that leads us to this future is not up to us, right? Because the future exists. And, as an atheist, a lot of atheists believe that we don't have free will. But I don't know. Sometimes I feel like we have the illusion of free will. Like we think we can just go like this, but really that's been predetermined. And I was supposed to do that. I don't know. I was falling asleep to like this. I have to fall asleep to like someone talking to me. So I was falling asleep to like this YouTube video of, it's like called like mind-boggling questions to fall asleep to. And they said something that really is just crazy because there's like a theory that observation determines existence. Okay. And basically, like, you know, you probably heard the quote, when a tree falls in the forest and no one's around to hear, it doesn't make a noise. And I think it was Albert Einstein said something like, what is the moon in the sky when you're not looking at it? When no one's looking at it, does the moon exist? Because there is a real theory that maybe it doesn't. Maybe the act of observing is what makes things exist. Because there's just no way to prove that things exist when they're not being observed. And they've literally done like the experiment, I'm sure most of you have heard of it, the double slit experiment, where they observe like protons, I think it is. And the protons literally act different when they're being observed. That's crazy. The way that nobody talks about that all day. I remember learning about that in high school and being like, why isn't this like a phenomenon? Like, that's insane. When a human eye was observing the proton, it acted different. That's fucking crazy. And then you know, it leads people to another question, like, well, what determines observation? Because does it have to be a conscious mind, or could it be like a camera? And I mean, I don't know. I guess to me, it would be a camera too, any sort of observation. But then that leads people to the question, okay, if conscious minds determine observation, which determines existence, then would the universe exist if there wasn't conscious minds here to observe it? I don't think so. I really don't. I'm one of those, I don't know, maybe this is definitely the minority of people, but I honestly, I've always kind of believed, I've had an inkling that nothing is real unless it's being observed. And I honestly think it's kind of a fun way to live. And the way that it's like a real scientific theory is like even better. I'm like, all right, so I'm kind of being supported in this delulu-ness because I just don't believe that my bed is upstairs right now unless I'm up there. You know, the future not existing is not something I came up with. It's just a lot of people, there's like scientific people behind this, okay? And I've said this before, and a lot of people like told me to shut the fuck up, but I also think that the past doesn't, it's not necessarily that it did exist, but it doesn't exist anymore, right? I mean, and even saying that it existed is up for debate, because there's no way to prove that the past happened. There's just no way. There's no way. I've already talked about this, guys. I've already talked about this. I know you're going to say, oh, well, you know, there's, you know, fossils. How do you explain fossils? There's something called last Thursdayism, and I talk about this all the time, but it's the theory that the universe was created last Thursday, and that it was created in a way to make it look like it was billions of years old, but really it was created last Thursday. And there's no way to debunk that theory. That's kind of what the whole theory is about, right? Because you can't debunk even though we know it's not true. All right, what else do we got here, guys? Let's see. What made you believe you could be a mom / were you scared? I think I live in a delulu land. I really do, because I thought nothing of it. I got pregnant and I wasn't scared. I was more concerned about giving birth than being a mom. I just thought like it was gonna be so painful and hard. And I was too focused on that the whole time. And then when Jay got here, I was I was in for a rude awakening, because I just didn't think of this far. Like I said, I don't believe in the future, so I literally didn't think this far. And I wasn't scared to be a mom, but once he got here, I was afraid to keep him alive. I just felt like I didn't trust my instincts, you know. Losing friends as a new mom. Okay, so you know, I'm 27. And when I had Jay at 21, I was 21 when I had him, I was 20 when I got pregnant. I had so many friends, guys. And there was so many people that never in a million years would I have guessed that they aren't in my life anymore, because I just really counted on these people. And now a lot of the people that, you know, don't want to be my friend anymore, or that didn't, well, it's not that they didn't want to be my friend. They just didn't care to even meet Jay. And at like his first birthday party, I still was holding out for people to meet him. Like, oh, maybe, you know, this friend will meet him like next month or something. Like, and at one point I had to give it up. I'm like, these people don't care, Julie. These people don't fucking care. And I decided to keep around the people that were putting in the slightest bit of effort to see Jay. Sometimes I considered a friend. And I'm glad I did, because I've already talked about this. I feel like I've talked about all of these things, but they were also 21. They were in college. I can't expect people to leave college and come see my freaking kid just because I got pregnant, you know? It was sometimes like I just see people being too harsh. Like, oh, cut them off. If they weren't there for you when you were pregnant, cut them off. But especially when people don't have kids and like they're literally in the college phase, I don't think it's always the best thing to do. And I am always team cutting people off. But if I did that, I would have no friends right now. So, but there are people I did cut off because they didn't meet Jay. And like, there's one person specifically I can think of. And she was such a good person, guys. Like, she was like the nicest girl. And I thought we were so close. And I was so ready for her to like be in Jay's life. I was so, like, out of all people, I would have never guessed this one didn't meet Jay. She didn't care to meet him. She probably said congratulations and stuff, but didn't ever come out of her way to meet him. And at one point, I just kind of like stopped asking and stuff. And now she has her own kid. She has her own baby. And I just kind of like, I'm assuming like she's going through it. You know, it's hard to become a parent. And now I have, Jay's 6 and Rose is 2. And I'm over here just like, must suck, huh? It must suck to not have anyone right now, because I feel like she doesn't really have many friends. And I could totally reach out. She likes my stuff. I can tell she's interested in maybe hanging out. But it's like, where you been? Where you fucking been for 6 years, you know? So it will always come back around. And maybe now she's realizing like, damn, like, I can't believe Julie went through this when she was only 21. You know, it's hard. And you just have to let people figure things out for themselves, you know? And sometimes it takes so long. It does. It took this girl 6-7 years. And now I think she finally gets what she really did to me. But the damage is done. I don't care to be your friend. So, in my opinion, if you are a young, even if you're not necessarily considered like 21-year-old young, but even my age, like most people don't have kids, even at 27. I don't know if it's just like my area, but just because you're the same age doesn't mean you know everything that they know, and doesn't mean they know everything you know, right? Age doesn't really determine that. So a lot of times it's just the experience of having a kid is the only way to really relay the message of how important it is to like be there and, be present and show up for, birthday parties and baby showers and postpartum. All these things are so important, but some people will never understand until they go through it. And you have to decide if you're willing to wait for that and like kind of keep them around until then and let it go, or just decide if they're not worth it. Like even now, like my friends that have no kids, I love them so much. Like I really do. And it's actually kind of refreshing to be around them because I feel like I'm who I was before I had kids. So it's not always a bad thing to like be around these people that have no idea what being a mom is like. Like I know it can be a little frustrating when they say things that are like so outrageous. Like, why don't you just, have you tried bringing the kid to the restaurant? Why don't you bring it? And you're like, no, I don't want to bring my freaking 1-year-old. But sometimes it's just refreshing to hear their minds, their untouched mother minds. And it's nice to be surrounded by it because I feel like I'm a teenager again. And I like how they treat me just like me and like not a mom. It is nice. But sometimes there are things that I just can't, I have to like keep a lot of myself from them. And it's hard. It's actually hard. I've never talked about this out loud, but it is hard because there's so much to me that they don't know because I don't really tell them because I know they won't understand. And like I said, it's kind of nice to kind of escape that mom world and that mom mindset when I'm around them, so I don't bring it up. And I have I have mom friends for that. I do have mom friends for that. But it can just be frustrating, you know? Like, they'll be like, oh, like, you want to go out this night? I'm like, guys, I need to, like, get a babysitter. I need to, like, plan for this. I know it's, like, annoying, like, but I do need a time. I hate to be that guy, but it can be hard, you know? It really can. And like I said earlier, it's difficult to become close with other adults when you're an adult. And I feel like it has something to do with the phones. Because I don't think this is a problem, like, when we were kids. Like, Sean's mom was saying, like, oh, yeah, like, all, like, the moms would come over, like, after practice, and we would, like, you know, have, like, dinner or whatever. Like, they would have, like, community groups and, like, Tupperware fucking parties. I'm like, goddamn. Tupperware party? Like, that'd be great. I wish someone would do that. Maybe I need to start. Maybe I need to be the community I want to see. But it's also difficult when you incorporate the TikTok aspect, because a lot of people know me from TikTok, and I don't want, like, this to turn into, like, a TikTok, like, Q&A club, you know what I mean? So that aspect has slightly changed my path a little bit, you know? So I don't know. I do want to do something for the moms. Like, I'm really starting to, like, bubble some thoughts about that, because I want to translate my platform into real life, but in a way where it helps and benefits, like, not just for entertainment purposes. But I don't necessarily know how to do that. It's a very tricky thing to navigate, and I've just been thinking about it. You know, now that Rose is older, I just feel like I have more time, and I can kind of branch out a little bit. So a lot of people ask me, like, how to set boundaries when you have a new baby. But I am such the opposite person. Like, I didn't want any boundaries. Like, I have chronic loneliness. So you guys know that. I've talked about that a million times. So, like, when I had Jay and Rose, like, each time, for some reason, the postpartum made me feel extra lonely. So all I wanted was people to surround me and my baby. I just, like, needed people around me. People heal me, like, a lot. And it's not really, like, the conversation or, like, it's just the presence of another human makes me feel so much better. I don't know how to explain it, but I'm not the person to ask for advice about boundaries, because I didn't want boundaries. I wanted all the boundaries to go away. Like, when I first got pregnant with Rose, one of the first things I thought of was, I'm not looking forward to the feeling I'm gonna have when I bring her home that first night. Because I remember what it was like when I brought Jay home, and it was just, like, for some reason, the night of, like, that first night, it was, like, the saddest, loneliest feeling I ever felt in my whole life. I don't know why. Like, I can't explain it, but something about postpartum and loneliness is, like, it just, like, accentuates any piece of loneliness you have. It's, like, times a million. And I just cry a lot when I'm postpartum. Each time I cried, I could not help it. I remember crying in the shower, and I remember when I brought Rose home, we sat in the living room, like, right over there, and Jay was, like, holding her, and I looked at both of them, and I just started sobbing, and Jay looked at me, like, didn't know what's going on, and I'm like, Sean, I can't help it. I can't stop crying. Like, I just looked at them, like, with so much. I was so happy to see how healthy and cute and, you know, happy they were and, like, content. And that made me, like, so sad. You know, I'm also one of those people, and I know other people feel this way, where too much happiness equals sadness. And I've reached, like, that was peak happiness for me when Jay was holding Rose. And it made me so sad. Like, I cannot, like, that's literally one of the reasons why I won't get married, because I know that having a wedding, it will be everything I ever, like, could ask for, you know? Like, all the people I actually give a fuck about in one room celebrating me, that's too much. That would be just peak happiness. And I just fear that I would not have a good time, and it would be a waste of money. Well, I know I would be sad. I know I would be. And I'd probably get way too drunk and just cry the whole time, honestly. And I know I don't have to have a wedding. I know that. But yeah, no, we're gonna get married eventually, guys. I know people, like, always want to know, like, what's the tea. Like, there's so many factors to the married thing that I've gone over so many times. But all right, that's enough of me, guys. That is absolutely enough of me. I've been yapping so much my mouth hurts. Thank you guys for listening. Seriously, thank you. YouTube is, I'm never going to be done with YouTube. I'm never going to be done. But like I said, it just takes up a lot of my time. Please, please, I'm begging you to tell me anything that we should talk about on here. If there's any people like in my life or, that live in Massachusetts that you know of, please tell me. I'm begging you. I need ideas. I need you guys to think for me because I have serious mom brain and my brain is just not juicing like it used to. All right. Well, thank you for listening.